Stop. This wasn't random. Something in you slowed down before you understood why. And that matters more than you think. Because right now, you're standing inside a moment most people walk past. Not because it's hidden, but because it's quiet. And here's the strange part. Quiet moments are where everything actually shifts. But no one tells you that. They tell you to wait for something louder, something obvious, something dramatic. And that's exactly why they miss this. Because this doesn't feel important. It feels like in-between time, like something you just move through. But there's something else happening. Your body feels it. Your rhythm feels off. Sleep shifts, energy dips, then spikes. And you might brush it off, call it random, call it normal. But it isn't random. This is a transition. And transitions don't announce themselves. They reshape things quietly. And here's where it gets deeper. This moment is not asking for effort. It's asking for awareness. Most people are waiting right now, waiting for clarity, waiting for a better time, waiting to feel ready. But the people who actually move forward, they're not waiting. They're noticing. They feel something subtle, a shift that doesn't need permission, a direction forming without noise. And this is the part most people miss. This window doesn't stay open long. You don't get weeks to figure it out. You get moments. And those moments don't repeat the same way twice. Right now, there's a quiet pressure in the air. You might not even notice it consciously, but it's there. Asking something simple. Where are you, really? And the moment you ask that, something dangerous can happen. You start looking sideways, comparing, measuring yourself against others, and without realizing it, you step out of your own path. Because this isn't a finished version of you. This is the version that's still forming. And comparing a process to someone else's result will always distort your direction. So here's the shift. Not dramatic, not loud, just precise. Stay with your own path, even if it feels unclear, because something is already being decided here, without you realizing it yet. Here's where things begin to turn, but not in the way you expect. You won't get a sudden realization, no dramatic breakthrough. Instead, something you already know starts becoming harder to ignore. And that's uncomfortable. Because clarity like this doesn't feel exciting. It feels exposing. It tightens. It removes your ability to pretend. You don't discover something new. You lose the option to delay what's already clear. And that changes everything. The thoughts you used to rely on start sounding weaker. Excuses don't hold the same weight. And here's the strange part. No one forces this on you. It happens internally. You hear yourself repeating the same justifications, and for the first time, they don't convince you. That's the shift. And most people at this point, they try to buy time. I'll deal with it later. Next month will be better. But there's something they don't see. What feels manageable right now doesn't stay that way, because the environment is about to change. Things will move faster. Expectations will rise. Action will replace reflection. And what you avoided here won't feel the same there. Something small now becomes heavy later. Not because it grew, but because you carried it forward. And this is the part most people miss. There's a natural deadline here, not on a calendar, but inside you. A point where hesitation stops feeling sustainable, where delay starts creating friction. And once that happens, everything feels harder than it needed to be. So this moment isn't about forcing decisions. It's about clearing what already feels finished, quietly, before everything else starts demanding your attention. Because what you carry forward is about to feel very different. Now pay attention to this, because this is where people drift. Nothing feels urgent. Nothing feels dramatic. So the mind assumes nothing important is happening. And that assumption is where the misalignment begins. Slow, almost invisible. Because when something is loud, you react immediately. But when something is quiet, you postpone it. And postponed moments don't disappear. They wait until you feel the difference later. You move forward, and nothing seems wrong, but something feels slightly off. Timing feels delayed. Momentum feels uneven, and you can't explain why. This is how small misalignments grow, not instantly, but consistently, until the gap becomes visible. And then people say, something shifted. But the shift didn't happen suddenly. It happened quietly, when no one was paying attention. And here's the truth. This moment doesn't punish you. It just doesn't reward you either. There's no immediate consequence for ignoring it, no dramatic loss. But there is a difference, and it compounds. The people who notice this moment don't jump ahead instantly. They move smoother, clearer, more aligned. While others are adjusting, they're already in motion. And this is where things change. Not outside, inside. Because once you see this, you can't unsee it. You realize you don't fall behind in big moments. You fall behind in the ones you ignored. And this is one of those moments. But here's where it deepens. And most people don't expect this. You've been trained to take things seriously only when they feel intense. When something is loud, you respond. When it's quiet, you wait. And that pattern is exactly what this moment bypasses. Because there's no pressure here, no audience, no expectation, which means something important. Whatever you choose now comes from you, not influence, not noise, just you. And that's rare, much rarer than you think, because most decisions people make are reactions. But this isn't a reaction moment. This is a creation moment. Subtle, unseen, but real. And here's the part most people miss. When nothing is expected of you, what you do reveals everything. Not loudly, but accurately, because there's no pressure shaping it. So while others drift, waiting for a signal, some people lean in, just slightly. They don't force anything. They don't rush. They just respond to what already feels settled. And that response creates momentum before momentum is visible. That's the difference. Because when things become obvious later, it's already crowded. Everyone moves at once. Everyone reacts.
But right now, there's space. And space is where direction forms. So the real question is simple. Are you moving with this moment, or just passing through it? And now, this is where everything settles. Not into answers, but into awareness. Because you don't need more information. You already feel what matters. The question is, will you acknowledge it, or soften it again? There's a quiet line being drawn right now. Most people won't even see it, but they'll feel the result later. Two paths forming, one unconscious, one intentional, both subtle. And the difference isn't effort, it's recognition. Seeing the moment before it becomes obvious. Because once it's obvious, it's already late. Not too late, but no longer clean. Right now, it's clean. No pressure, no noise, just clarity waiting. And here's the final shift. You don't need to do more. You need to carry less. Less hesitation, less delay, less negotiation with what's already clear. That's enough. Because the people who move forward strongest aren't the ones who pushed harder. They're the ones who understood earlier. And if something in you recognized this moment, even slightly, that's not small. That's alignment beginning. Quiet, unseen, but already in motion. And once something begins like that, it doesn't need noise to continue. It just needs you, not to ignore it again.